Okay, we're done with our economics metaphor. Time to channel our inner neuroscientist. Which brings us back to our joke. An economist, a neuroscientist, and a rookie teacher walk into a bar. We still don't have a punchline. And that's probably because we have an underdeveloped humor bellum. What's a humor bellum? Great question. The humor bellum is part of something that we call the teacher brain. It looks like this. In the last video, we focused on what's happening with students in any given class period of instruction. In this one, we focus in on what's happening inside the teacher's head while she's delivering a lesson. This brain, this graphic, is our attempt to organize all of the different decisions that a teacher has to make while they're delivering instruction. We'll cover what all these different parts of the brain mean throughout this video. Teaching is a highly complex endeavor that involves lots of real-time decision making. In a second, we're going to show you a short clip of a teacher, and we'd like you to try to keep track of how many different decisions this teacher is making just in a small moment of instruction.
F of x equals x. Draw your coordinate plane and graph it up. Should take you no more than 30 seconds to do. Okay, some of you got it, some of you didn't. Your graph should look like this, yes?
Okay, here are the decisions that we saw this teacher making.
F of x equals x. Draw your coordinate plane and graph it up. Should take you no more than 30 seconds to do. Okay, some of you got it, some of you didn't. Your graph should look like this, yes?
Whoa, that's a lot of decisions. Could you imagine if she had to stop to really think about each one of them? Class would go absolutely nowhere. She was able to make those decisions without hesitating, without seemingly thinking about what she was doing. Well, that's clearly an expert teacher, someone who's experienced. Unfortunately, that's not you. But that's okay. That's what it means to be a novice at something, to be a rookie teacher. You don't have all those automatic responses to all the decisions that you have to make in class. In a minute, we're going to listen to an NPR piece that focuses in on the brain activity that takes place inside of a novice's head versus an expert and how that affects their decision making. Listen just to the first 4 minutes and 40 seconds. That's what we'll ask you questions about, though feel free to listen to the whole piece if you'd like. Okay, back to our teacher brain graphic. Let's look at each component of the teacher brain. The first is the PEBO, the Patrolling Effort and Behavior Oblongata. We call it the PEBO for short. That's the part of the brain that's focusing in on student behavior. Our students listening, paying attention, looking out the window, throwing a piece of paper across the room. That's the part of your brain that's making all those decisions about how you're going to respond to student behavior and effort. Next, we have the performance cortex. That part of your brain is making some really high-level decisions about the content of the lesson and how kids are engaging with that content. So it's everything from what are you going to say next to how do I respond to that student answer if it's not totally correct? What's my next question here? What's a better way to explain what I'm teaching? All of that decision making is happening in your performance cortex. Then you have your navigation lobe. This is the part of your brain that's essentially watching the clock. It's making decisions about time. There's 20 minutes left in class, and you still haven't covered 3 of your big topics and 2 of your big activities. How am I going to adjust in response to the time left in this lesson? That's your navigation lobe firing. And then we have our other 2, the humorbellum and the stress factory. We hope you have a lot of activity going on in one of those areas and not too much activity going on in the other. So you've probably already concluded that the teacher brain and the learning formulas go hand in hand. They do. Remember lesson quality? Well, that connects to the performance cortex, particularly the part of lesson quality that deals with lesson legitness, the content of what you're teaching and how students are engaging in that content. Then there's also lesson tightness, the orchestration of your lesson, the transition between activities. That's your teacher navigation lobe making those decisions. Then we also have student effort and the misbehavior tax. Well, it's your PIBO that's making decisions about that. Are students behaving and engaging in the lesson? When you put it all together, that's a ton of brain activity going on every time you're up teaching, in every moment of instruction. Remember our NPR piece. You have a finite amount of mental bandwidth, and it's really difficult to multitask. So when you're making decisions with one part of your brain, maybe in your performance cortex, it's really hard to also make quick decisions with another part of your brain, your PIBO. Let's look at a dramatization right now of what happens with a novice teacher, a rookie teacher, when all this activity is taking place at once.
So, the interesting part is that we don't actually meet Junior until about halfway through the book. All that we know about him is what we can infer through his narrative voice. What kind of characteristics can we infer about Junior just through the narrative voice of what we've read so far? Malik.
Well, based on his diction, I think Junior is smart, like very smart, but we see that he hasn't gone through a lot of formal education. Maybe he has finished high school, but not college.
Dang, that is a good analysis of Junior, but he's not totally right. A minute ago, Jimmy said something that might clarify his answer, and maybe I'll get him to respond. And Josh just tossed that paper ball. I wonder if they saw me see it. I'd love to just ignore it, but no, I can't. Do I call him out? No. I'll set Jimmy on the question, and then I'll circulate over to Josh and sort him out privately for throwing paper. Yes, all right, that's the plan. Let's go.
Okay, maybe that was a bit of an overstatement, but that's what it could feel like to be a rookie teacher.